All right, we told you there was a part two, so we're getting to it right now. Top 10 tear-jerking moments of all of Pixar. So now it's Allie's list. This is the real list. Let's get to yours.
I'm ready. Okay, so 10. In the Good Dinosaur, Spot and Arlo say goodbye. And here's what got me. So Spot doesn't want to leave. His real family's there. There's cave people. He's like, that's not my family. And Arlo 3 times has to push him back by his nose. And it just like it's like such a puppy, like Pixar and their eyes. Like I'm like, that's my puppy. Like that's my actual dog. That's what would happen if I made her go away. It was so sad, and he didn't understand it. So I was it was awful.
That's a curveball. Didn't see that one coming. That's pretty good.
So number 9, Joy. So in Inside Out, Joy doesn't understand. Like she's trying to make everything happy. Everything is fine. Everything is good. We need to be happy all the time. And then she kind of surrenders the core memory to sadness, and then sadness turns this ball blue. And suddenly it was like Joy kind of understands, like, oh, we need to feel things. So that got, I even have chills now, but I was like, oh, and then everyone's crying. That one got me good.
Yeah, your explanation was better than mine. Go on. Yeah.
Well, you're coming at a dad. I tell me about myself. So number 8, Monsters Inc. So it's very important that people know Monsters Inc. is actually my favorite Pixar movie. Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. There's a Monsters University. Yeah, I love it. I love Pixar does this amazing thing where they take this concept of, ooh, kids are scared of monsters in the closet, and then they turn it into Monstropolis. There's a whole city in there. It's outstanding. So Monsters Inc. Sully says goodbye to Boo. So they fight all these things. They finally get it. They open the door and they put Boo safely in, and then he closes the door, and she's kind of like, oh, and then they close the door and they shred the door. Ooh, I was done. Dory, finding Dory, when there's all these shells leading in to the dream.
Of course, yes. That's a good one.
Starting to remember, like, what's going on, and then she remembers, Mommy loves the purple shells, follow the purple shells. And then there's Mom and Dad with all the shells, like, follow the shells. Oh, I need tissues now. Oh my gosh, that was so sad.
Now, with the fact that it was Dan Levy's dad, that was Eugene Levy, did it have any bearing on making that a little weightier? Because it did for me. So did that have any change? That change?
Yes. Wow. I didn't even put that together, but wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Good one. That makes a lot of sense because it really hit me harder than it should have. Good one.
They even animated Eugene Levy's like eyebrows in fish form. Just saying. That might have had a factor. That might have been a factor.
Number 6, Ian and Barb. This is almost the same as yours. Ian kind of sacrifices his opportunity to meet his dad, and Barley's like, no, you have to. He's like, no, I've never had a dad, but I always had a brother. Like, I always had you. And then he, like, that whole thing was his whole journey. This whole thing was he needed to meet him for 10 seconds, and he let it go. I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh. Finding Nemo, Marlin.
Okay.
So Nemo is like, I'm going to touch the boat, blah, blah, blah. And he hits the boat, and then he gets kidnapped. And then all of a sudden, Marlin is chasing that boat. Like, I don't know. I think I maybe saw, like, the panic of, like, my parents in that. Because, like, I cannot thinking, like, oh, she's gone. Like, where is she? And there's no way he's going to catch up to that boat. There's no way.
Yeah.
But he was like,
yeah.
You got to get it. Oh. And then Neil's like, Daddy! Like, he's like, listen, I did some things I'm not proud of. But okay, so Toy Story 3, we have the hand holding. They look to Woody, and
come on. I mean, come on.
That's their guy. And he's like, we got to take this one. This is how it goes, right? But like you said, the best callback, the best, like, and I didn't see that one coming. And like, this is going to be how it ends. And this is Pixar going to teach children that there's no happy endings and whatever. And then
That's what I was thinking. I can't believe that got past the writer's room. That was the most amazing part of it, that it got past the writer's room.
No one saw it coming that this thing would be a hero.
Of all things. I know.
Who would have thought? I love that. That's a true underdog story right there.
Agreed.
So Monsters University, yeah. So Mike is my favorite character, and him and Sully are getting into fights. This is of course like the prequel, and they're not friends. And he's like, Sully's basically like, who are you to do that? Like, you can't do this. Like, this isn't. You're not going to be able to. And Mike, who was not strong, like he was smart, but he wasn't at all built the way everyone else was. And he's like, what makes you better than me? And it just got me, because it's like he worked his tail off to be at Monsters University. Like, and I'm like, this is real. Like, why did you say? Like, he worked his whole into Monsters University, and who's Sully to tell him you can't be a scarer? That's not for you. Oh, that got me. And then so Coco. So it's not the same as yours. It's when it's when Miguel and Hector realize their family, and then Hector is like, I knew I was never going to see her again in life, but I thought I'd see her here one more time, and I'd give her the biggest hug. And he's like slowly dwindling away, right? And it's like, it's over, no chance, right? And then number one.
Ours is the same. Of course they're the same. Of course they're the same.
The first 8 minutes of Up. Oh my God.
Come on. Well, I think one of the greatest memes I've seen of any Disney movie was some genius put together. There's more character development in the first 8 minutes of Up than 4 movies of Twilight, or whatever there was ever, like 3 or 4, whatever, however many there was. And that's so true. Like, it's and there's no dialogue. How do you? It's cinematic genius. Now, I'm going to give you as just to give you an idea of how weighty this was for me. I'm going to try and encapsulate this as quick as I can. Here's why it's my number one. So at this point in our lives, when my wife and I saw it in the theaters, she had been planning to take this big long trip somewhere in the world, and she hadn't taken that trip yet, but she was saving for it. And also, obviously, we were planning on being parents, but we weren't parents yet. So we were waiting to be parents, but she was also waiting to do this trip, and both of them were kind of like stopping the other one from happening. So we were just convinced that neither of them were going to happen, and we were going to live our whole lives and die and never do this stuff. And we were going to, we just assumed that was going to be the case. That didn't end up happening. Spoiler alert, but our lives are not like that. And the other thing is, like, the whole cross your heart thing. I met her when she was in overalls. Like, we've known each other for 25 years. It was just the two of us were openly sobbing, like inconsolable. I have kept it together better at like the funerals of loved ones than I did in the theater with the first 8 minutes. So it ruined us to the point where I can't even whistle to this day. Because we're finished. It's like 10 years later, and we can't even. It destroyed us. Anyway, that's why it's my number one.
I've not had that. I mean, you saw your whole life cinematically flash before your eyes. Cartoons.
My possible life. Yeah.
I was like, I think I naively was watching it being like, how's this going to end? Like, like, that's so cute. Like, now the movie's going to start with Ellie and Carl. And then she dies. Like,
yeah. Just rip. And there it is.
And then sends in the note with the balloon, and it's like, oh really? Yeah. Not nice.
Yeah. We have to stop. We can't go any further. This is going to be bad. I can't do it. But who are we? We're just fans. We're just a bunch of dorks with toys. That's all we are. We're just a bunch of dorks. So who are we? We should probably leave this to professionals, shouldn't we? We should give the last word to somebody who maybe knows what they're talking about. What do you think?
I think we should throw this to John Morris, the voice actor of Andy.
What? Big get.
This is John Morris, the voice of Andy in the Toy Story movies. How are you? Thank you for reaching out. I understand that for an upcoming episode, you're asking people to list their top tearjerker moments from Pixar. I would have to say my number one is the last scene in Toy Story 3, where Andy gives his toys to Bonnie, says goodbye to them, and heads off to college. And I would say number two would be the opening sequence of Up.
Well, there you go. His was the same as ours, and of course, one that we actually kind of predicted this, that he would pick Toy Story 3. That makes a lot of sense. That's a good one for us, and also a good one for him. It's perfect.
It makes
perfect
sense. If he came at us with like a Bug's Life moment, I'd be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, or like Sophie's Choice. What? Really? Okay. Like just some total. Actually, that would have been kind of awesome if he just totally curveballed us and didn't mention Pixar at all, and just that would be crazy. But he picked the ones that we kind of hoped he would, and he totally delivered. So that was cool. Big get. Wow, this thing just became authentic somehow. This is legit.
Stamp of Disney approval.
Yes,
Pixar
exactly.
approval. Wow.
Well, this is a really great idea, Allie. I'm glad you did this, and I'm glad you set this whole thing up. So thanks. That was fun. This was fun.
I'm interested to know who else, what other people's lists are. So if you want to comment those below, if you agree, disagree, have new ones, I'd love to see it.
Yes. What did we get wrong, and what did we get right, and what are yours, and why? That's what we want to know. So yes, please do that for sure. Chat it up. I'm Derek, host of 10-Minute Talk Show.
I'm Allie.
It's all true. But that's time.